James Gunn's latest film and the start to the DC Universe, Superman, released into theaters just this past weekend. We're a couple days past its opening weekend, but today I'm going to rank every James Gunn film. We got 9 movies to talk about, so let's dive in. Before I get started, please make sure to subscribe, like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what are your opinions on James Gunn, and what is your ranking of his films. I think he is probably the best comic book movie director. We got our bottom 2, which I don't think are very good movies, and then one that I don't like as much as a lot of people, but then it's like 4.5-star projects from up there. Also, we are including the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that premiered on Disney+, and we are including the Peacemaker TV show. So we're not just including the movies here. It's a weird list. We're including the comic book stuff and then Slither and Super, those 2 movies he did before he got into the comic book movies. I think James Gunn, like I said, best comic book director. This is going to be a fun ranking. Tell me yours down below. Could be controversial, could not be controversial. We will see. And with that said, number 9, Super. Now, a lot of people respect this movie more for its dark sense of humor, and don't get me wrong, I have a big dark sense of humor. Dark humor is hilarious to me. You look at my Instagram likes, and there's so many dark jokes on there. And the movie can be really funny from time to time because of the dark humor, because of James Gunn's dark humor. There could be some cool action sequences. I think Rainn Wilson is really good in this movie. But my problems with this one more lie in the whereabouts of the third act, because, I don't know, they push the limit. James Gunn pushes the limit and just leaves a big sour taste in my mouth, where the third act starts out with his sidekick wanting to do the deed with him, and he consistently says no, and he wakes up from a dream, and she is doing him, which is something that rhymes with grape. It's not okay. And it leaves just a big sour taste in my mouth, just because we see that happen. We see him constantly saying no, and then she does it anyways. And it's played more for laughs. The movie's not like, oh, Rainn Wilson, he was just graped. No. If it happened to a woman in any other movie, people would be rioting. But because it happened to Rainn Wilson in this movie, people just don't care. And with that said, the third act also just turns more generic. It's not as fun as the first 2 acts were. Now, don't get me wrong, I did have a really fun time with the first 2 acts. I haven't seen this movie since Guardians 3 came out, when I watched all of his movies for the first time. So I haven't ever felt the need to revisit this one. But the first 2 acts are watchable, but when I think of Super, I think of that ending, and it just puts a sour taste in my mouth. Number 8, Slither, his movie before he started doing Marvel and DC stuff, and it's just a completely forgettable horror movie. Like, I barely remember anything about this movie. Like I said, I didn't rewatch Super. I'm not rewatching Slither. I rewatched several of the superhero movies. That's because his superhero movies are his best movies, and this is his one straight horror movie he did. It's got a little bit of the James Gunn humor. It's got some nasty stuff. But I feel like the pacing of the movie is just way too choppy. And it's never as consistent. And the story doesn't quite work for me. And it's just completely forgettable. Like I said, I haven't revisited this movie since 2023 when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out. So this is the one James Gunn movie that I don't remember anything about, except like I don't like the pacing, maybe like 1 or 2 set pieces with the Slither monsters. It's not a very good movie. And that is it for James Gunn's movies before his comic book movies. So from here on out, this next movie is like a 3.5 star movie. I'd give Slither like 2.5 stars. So it's like a whole whole star above it. With that said, number 7, and here's where we get to the real controversial stuff. Everybody's list has Slither and Super at the bottom. Real controversial stuff. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is a movie that gets better every single time I watch it. I have a feeling if I watch it again, I'll like it even more. Where the first time I watched it, I wasn't a big fan of the way the pacing was. I felt like it was just too quick and never had enough stops. But now, every time I rewatch the movie, that's my complete opposite problem. My problem with this movie is that we get to the planet with Ego, and it's Peter and Gamora and Drax, and the movie just slows to a stop. You get to watch Peter playing catch with his dad. You get to watch them bonding. But, like, do I want to watch a Guardians of the Galaxy movie where for a whole hour straight I'm watching Peter Quill play catch with his dad? Now, Rocket and Yondu's side plot, some of the best stuff and Baby Groot, obviously, can't forget him. Some of the best stuff in this franchise. I love the Ravager plot. Has all the emotions that you get as you see these Ravengers get killed by the bigger group of Ravengers. And then also has some awesome sequences, some great needle drops, some great music, as always. This movie, I think, is probably the funniest in the Guardians trilogy, which is why I enjoy watching it more and more each time I watch it, just because it is genuinely funny. I know a lot of people say that it's mean-spirited and the movie's just mean and it's not funny because it's mean, but no, I find it very funny. The banter everybody has is just hilarious. So for me, this is the funniest movie in the Guardians trilogy. I always enjoy the Ravager side plot. The third act is amazing. I mean, once you get the reveal of Ego and what he's actually doing, and then the fact that he killed Peter's mom, and then the sacrifice of Yondu, that's all great stuff. But as much as I enjoy it each time I'm watching it, I can't deny that the middle act drags severely. Number 6, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Now, to be clear, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, 3.5 star, 3-star movie. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is 5 stars. Next up will be 4.5 stars, but we're at the 5-star, 4.5-star mark here. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is just an hour-long short film with these characters that you love. It doesn't have any big emotional arcs for our characters. It doesn't have any action. Doesn't have any of that. But it's Drax and Mantis wanting to do something nice for Peter Quill after a traumatic event in his life. And it just brings apart the holiday spirit. You get Kevin Bacon in there. And for a 1-hour short film, this makes me feel emotions that I didn't think I'd feel with a 1-hour short film. Yes, it brings all the holiday spirit. We get to see these characters. It's really funny. But you also see this group after Infinity War and after Endgame, and they're broken. Get the holiday spirit upon them, and it is just some great stuff, some really emotional stuff. And a 1-hour short film that I watched several times each holiday, and I'm in tears by the end of. Because I love these characters. I love what they do here, and it's a perfect holiday Christmas movie. So, this is just a great... I'm only putting it this low because it is a short film, because you got a TV show, and then you got 4 feature-length movies left. Only have to put it that low for that reason. Number 5, Peacemaker, the TV show. This is only at number 5 because the other ones are movies, and because... Personally, for me, I feel like the first couple of episodes just don't hit the mark whatsoever. In fact, I was considering quitting watching the show after the first couple of episodes. I was not invested at all. But then the rest of the show happened, and James Gunn did what James Gunn does, and he makes a show where we have the central character, Peacemaker, you have his arc, but the also main focus is of the rest of the people. You know, the team that he's working with. He's an ensemble director, and he makes you care about every single character. Whether it's Vigilante, whether it is just the normal people that are the spies that work for Amanda Waller. He makes you care for all those people. By the time you get to the end of the episode, when their arcs fully come complete, you're kind of in tears because some dude colors his beard with a marker. James Gunn can make you feel that emotions by bringing out those arcs in the characters. Also, this show is incredibly funny. I mean, it goes without saying that every James Gunn project is incredibly funny. And this one really is incredibly funny. I mean, you got Peacemaker and Vigilante's banter, which is just awesome. I love Vigilante. I loved him ever since I saw this show, and I cannot wait to see more of him in Season 2. You got the plot with him and his dad, which is just awesome. Some great action sequences. It's overall plot about an alien invasion that is just handled really well. So, a show that had a really rough start, but as soon as he gets into the swing of things, it just goes full James Gunn mode and is a 4.5-star project. It's great. I cannot wait for Peacemaker Season 2 next month. Number 4, Superman. His latest film is really, really great. Brings all the James Gunnisms, not as extreme as I'd say as they are in some other projects, but he brings them to a Superman movie. And what can you expect? It's great. I was excited. I was nervous walking in because I didn't want to be disappointed by this, and I was not disappointed by it. This is probably the most comic booky movie of all time. It feels straight ripped out of the pages. I've seen a lot of people compare it to like Justice League Unlimited episodes, and I cannot agree more. I think it very much is like a Justice League Unlimited episode. Because you got Superman, and Superman's doing his thing, but then you got the side plots with the Justice Gang, who is Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, who are all four incredibly amazing parts in this movie. A lot of people thought the movie that would be overstuffed. I didn't think at all. But you have that, and it's kind of like plays as in a day in the life of Superman until we get to the full plot with Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, who is just amazing in this movie. I mean, he is an all-time hater, probably a top 5 villain of all time for me. Everything I've seen from him in this movie was just top-tier stuff, diabolical and evil. Nicholas Hoult completely pulls it off. This is a movie where you can get giant kaijus, and it feels natural for a movie like this. It feels like a lived-in world. You got Superman, who is just a great rendition of Superman and David Cornsweet. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and she is awesome in this movie as well. And then you get standouts, like I said, of the Justice Gang, specifically Mr. Terrific, who has a bigger part in this movie than I thought he would, and is just really good in this movie. So the movie does get a little bit too wonky at some points, when you're doing stuff with pocket dimensions and monkeys, captured monkeys that are typing on computers. Gets a little bit too goofy, but overall, it's a movie that is about Superman, and the themes of the movie are what makes us human. So it's a Superman movie with great emotional themes, and I'm not going to lie, when the Kent's stuff happens in the final act of the movie, I am in tears. I love this movie, and it's a James Gunn classic. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, this was a movie that, when I left the theater, I was disappointed by it. I thought that the movie didn't have any emotional hook to it because it felt like James Gunn cared too much about these characters who actually killed them off. Well, I rewatched it for the first time when Thunderbolts came out so I could do my Phase 5 rankings and stuff, and I loved it. I mean, I don't know what I was on leaving the theater, but I fell in love with it. Yeah, is the pacing a little bit different than the other movies? Yes. Yeah, is the last hour and a half of the movie just a giant battle? Yes. But it has all the payoff, all the emotions that the entire trilogy, plus Infinity War, plus Endgame, were setting up for these characters. You love these characters, you love going on the journey with them, and when one of them gets hurt in Rocket Raccoon, you're incredibly worried. And the scene where you think Rocket's going to die is incredibly emotional. If James Gunn can get you to care about a CGI raccoon, you know he is a great director. Completely cared for him. The flashbacks are just brutal in this movie where you see Rocket and all of his friends. The High Evolutionary is a great, probably a top 3, honestly, for me, MCU villain. Just so evil, and how much I just want to jump in the screen and beat the living tar out of him. The third act is, like I said, a giant battle, but I think it has all the payoff, all great action sequences. And then, in the end, where I was a little bit frustrated on my first viewing was that nobody died, you didn't have that emotions, and then they just split up the gang. It felt more natural on rewatch. I don't know why I didn't think it was natural on my first watch. I think I was just frustrated that the movie was so marketed heavily where people were saying, who's going to die, who's going to die, who's going to die, and kept feeling like someone was going to die, and they just didn't, where it felt like there were no stakes in the movie. Here, my opinion just completely turned around. Everything I had problems with in the original watch did not work on rewatch. It did not happen on rewatch. And I just left this rewatch adoring this movie and thinking, what was me thinking 2 years ago? This is one of my most improved movies, and I loved it on rewatch. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, James Gunn, it's hard to say that they take a bunch of nobody characters because these characters, they're literally household names now. But back in 2014, when the movie was coming out, nobody knew who Peter Quill, Gamora, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, or Drax were. And so James Gunn does take a bunch of Z-list MCU characters and makes them household names. Starting to feel like a broken record here, but James Gunn, he does the James Gunn stuff. He makes this team, he makes you care about this group of characters literally anyone, even the Kree people that are just kind of random side characters. He makes you care for these characters to where you get into that third act and just a simple line from a big CGI tree that can only say I am Groot. When he says we are Groot, brings out so many emotions in here. The action sequences are great. Ronan, I think, is a great villain, a great coming of Thanos. The third act holds all the emotions, all the powerful stuff, and really makes this group feel like a family. This has been one of my favorite movies of all time when it first released, and then the future comes and I'm more into movies outside of the MCU sphere, but growing up, this was my favorite MCU movie. Do you think there are a few better MCU movies, but this is still a top 5 MCU film? James Gunn absolutely kills it. But my number one, my favorite James Gunn movie, The Suicide Squad. Coming out of Suicide Squad 2016, which honestly, growing up, I did enjoy. I have good memories of watching it with my late grandfather. And this movie, I was so much looking forward to it, you know. James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, is doing a rated R take on Suicide Squad. Actually, in 2021, what was that, 4 years ago? I'm 19 now, so I would be 15. I lived up in a Christian household. My parents didn't want me to watch rated R movies growing up, so it took a whole hell ton of convincing to convince my family to let me watch this movie on HBO Max when it came out. So my brother went to a friend's house or something. Me and my mom and my dad sat down. We were going to do something. They're like, you know what? Let's watch The Suicide Squad. And in 2021 was where I was kind of entering this phase where I just, you know, the teen stuff. So I was going through a lot of that phase, and I sat down, and The Suicide Squad was all I can think about for a couple of days straight. This movie was awesome. I mean, it's a movie I rewatch a couple times a year. Love the cast. I mean, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, two characters I've never heard of before this movie, and they are great here. Have this amazing banter. The rest of the cast is great. They take a character as ridiculous as Polka Dot Man as the dog is scratching his face. Sorry for that jingle. They take a character as ridiculous as Polka Dot Man and make him into this big emotional character. Harley Quinn's in the movie. Rick Flag's in the movie. The third act with Peacemaker, what he does, his fight with Rick Flag is awesome. Great action sequences. King Shark, forgot to talk about King Shark. He is just the Groot of this one. Oh, and people die in this movie. So, like, you feel the stakes. There are stakes where Polka Dot Man, you finally feel a victory, and he just dies. Ratcatcher. Forgot about Ratcatcher, you know? Another character with this big emotional hook. So again, James Gunn does his James Gunn things, brings the big emotional hooks to all these characters in this movie, and does it in a rated R movie that can say F-bombs, have great comedy, and some great blood, gore stuff that this movie does. So this is, I think, my favorite James Gunn movie, though if I rewatch any of them, I could probably put them at 1. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is 4.5 stars. First Guardians of the Galaxy is 5 stars. Suicide Squad is 5 stars. Could probably switch them two up any day of the week. But I love the Suicide Squad. I love James Gunn, and I am in on what he's going to do next. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. Stay tuned. This weekend we got Eddington. So, an Eddington review, Ari Aster ranking, and then I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to review it. Got a new job, so I don't know when, but I'm going to go see it. And then, no ranking, because I don't want to watch the movies. So, thank you guys for clicking on this video, and with that said, subscribe.